In Romania, the daughter of a famous and highly respected businessman was about to marry. The bride thanked her father, Ivan, for everything her father has done. She then invited all the guests to dance, while the parents of the bride and groom sat talking while waiting for drinks. Not long after, a waiter arrived with drinks, but Ivan's bodyguards checked him first for the safety of their boss. After confirming that the waiter was not armed, they immediately let him go. When the waiter poured the drink, he accidentally spilled it on Ivan's clothes, making him angry. The waiter apologized, then cleaned up the mess, and immediately left. But suddenly, Ivan's bodyguards realized that their boss had just been killed. Turns out, the waiter was a professional assassin, and he disguised as a waiter. His name was Vincent. He hid a knife under the plate he was carrying to execute Ivan. The guards who found out about this immediately chased Vincent, who ran away towards the kitchen. Some of them managed to chase and fight Vincent the hitman, but he easily defeated them and then just left, as if nothing had happened. Done with the job, Vincent returned to his apartment. While in another place, a former assassin, Roland Flint, was taking care of his wife Anna. Apart from taking care of his wife, who was in a coma after the attack by the drug kingpin, Roland also had to hide from the corrupt police who were trying to kill him because he had leaked their crimes. Meanwhile, one of the Interpol agents, Wilson Herod, was angry and scolded his subordinates because the media knew their corruption, and it was Roland's actions. But Roland was not just revealing their crimes, he also had taken their money from their corruption. So Wilson and his men were very ambitious to find Roland's whereabouts and get their money back. One of Wilson's men, Godfrey, suggested to Wilson that they had lured Roland out of his hiding place. Hearing this, Wilson's other man, Shell, immediately suggested that they use Polo Yacker, a drug dealer who had abused Anna, to lure Roland. Wilson and his subordinates also planned to free Polo from prison because they knew that Roland was determined to take revenge on Polo, who had hurt his wife. The following day, Mrs. Pavlescu, the landlady, told Roland that there was a man who wanted to meet him. Roland rushed to meet the man in his car, then pointed a gun at his head, asking his purpose. The man said that his name was Cully, and then told Roland that he wanted to hire him to kill Polo Yacker, who would soon be freed from prison. Cully even offered Roland a reward of $1 million if he succeeded in killing Polo. However, Roland immediately discovered that the job offer was a trap, so he refused the offer and stated that he had retired as a hitman and he just left. Meanwhile, in an antique shop, Vincent was meeting a man named Nalbandian to collect his wages. He did it after he successfully completed his work. Nalbandian then gave Vincent a new job to kill Polo Yacker, in exchange for a bag of diamonds worth $500,000. Vincent seemed interested in the prize and decided to take the job. After that, Vincent went home to his apartment and he met his neighbor, a woman named October. Turns out she worked as a call girl. When she met Vincent, October was with her boss, Daniel. They chatted for a while before Vincent finally entered his apartment and immediately kept the diamonds from Nalbandian, which was a down payment. While Polo was finally released from prison after serving a fairly short sentence, and knowing that his enemy had been free, Roland remembered the past where Polo and his men suddenly entered his house, tortured and abused his wife in front of them. Roland couldn't forget that terrible incident, so he then decided to accept Cully's offer. However, when Roland called Cully, the job was no longer available because it had been taken over by another assassin, and he was Vincent. But Roland didn't care about the prize, he only wanted to look for information about Polo. Initially, Cully refused to help because Roland just wanted revenge, but after Roland told what happened to his wife, Cully was willing to help him. He even gave the sniper rifle that Roland usually used to kill his targets. Before taking revenge, Roland installed a hidden camera in Anna's room and asked Mrs. Pavlescu to look after her for a while. The next day, Nalbandian told Vincent that Polo would attend the trial of his younger brother Danzo. Vincent immediately prepared a plan to kill Polo on the spot. Roland also received that information from Cully, so he was ready with his sniper rifle across the court building and was about to shoot Polo. When Polo and Danzo finally came out of the court building, Roland opened fire on him, but the shot missed and hit the van driven by Vincent. Because of that, Vincent's attempt to kill Polo failed, because the shot missed and instead hit Danzo. The situation immediately became chaotic. Roland went out onto the street to directly confront Polo and kill him. But before that, he was suddenly shot by Godfrey and Shell, who were waiting for him near the court building. The shooting incident got attention from the police, who immediately rushed to the location, but Roland managed to get up and quickly escape from that place before the police caught him. Godfrey and Shell also did not want their actions to be known by the local police. Both of them even burned up the car to remove their traces. Meanwhile, Polo seemed very devastated because of Danzo's death. He then asked his men to find out the mastermind behind the shooting incident because he planned to avenge the death of his brother. Meanwhile, Roland had a gunshot wound in his arm, and he was being treated by Cully. Vincent also has returned to his apartment, and he was very annoyed with Daniel, who was torturing October. Because of that, Vincent beats Daniel and throws him out. After that, Vincent asked October to stay in his apartment for a while because Daniel had locked the door and taken the key. Even though Vincent allowed her to stay in his apartment, he warned her to be nice and not touch his things. Not long after, Vincent got a call from Nalbandian, who urged him to immediately finish his work because it was the request from their client. Nalbandian also told him about Polo's current location. Vincent then rushed to the location mentioned, leaving October alone at home. Roland arrived at the location first and succeeded in knocking out Polo's men who were on guard outside. After that, Roland infiltrated the building, looking for Polo's whereabouts. But instead he was attacked by Vincent, who had just arrived there. A fierce fight ensued between these two professional assassins, and the duel was stopped after they'd pointed their weapons at each other. Realizing that the man standing in front of him was a professional assassin just like him, Roland then stated that he only intended to kill Polo Yacker and did not expect anything in return. He then told Vincent about what Polo and his gang did, which caused his wife to fall into a coma, so he intended to take revenge on them. Knowing that Roland had the same goal as him, Vincent decided to work with him and then finished off Polo and his gang. This cooperation seemed to be beneficial for both parties because Roland could get revenge while Vincent would get his fees, especially since both of them are professional hitmen, so their chances of killing Polo and his gang are even greater. Not long after that, Roland and Vincent went to visit an arms dealer, a man named Bartok, who was Polo's business partner. Roland threatened Bartok with his gun, so Bartok was forced to tell Polo's whereabouts. After receiving the information, Vincent shot Bartok, which then made him argue with Roland, who didn't want to kill anyone other than Polo. Vincent then suggested that they steal several weapons, including a new laser rifle to make the murder look like an ordinary robbery. In another place, Polo finally got information about the person who killed his brother, and the murderer was Vincent. After that, he then ordered all his men to find Vincent. Meanwhile, Vincent has returned to his apartment and tried to treat the whip wound on October's back, and they were getting closer. After finding out that Roland has collaborated with Vincent, a professional assassin, Cully suggested that Roland go home to take care of his wife and let Vincent kill Polo alone. But Roland insisted that his revenge was not only against Polo, but also against Wilson and his accomplices who tried to kill him. Roland said that the corrupt police would not stop chasing him until they get their money back. Therefore, Roland sneaked into Wilson's house and threatened to kill him and his family if he and his men continued to hunt him down. The next day, Wilson was angry because Roland had dared to break into his house and threatened him. He ordered Godfrey and Stell to kill Roland within 48 hours. Knowing that Polo Yacker and his gang had come to meet Nalbandian to ask for Vincent's whereabouts, Godfrey and Shell left with his men, asking Polo's men to cooperate in capturing and killing Roland. Godfrey said that Polo would be given lifelong safety if he was willing to help them kill Roland. Without thinking twice, Polo immediately agreed as long as they told him where Vincent was. Hearing this, Nalbandian told Polo that he was willing to tell him where Vincent was if Polo was willing to pay the price he wanted. Long story short, Polo and his men managed to catch Cully, who was carrying out a mission at the time. Polo then ordered his men to torture him to get information about Roland. After that, they killed Cully, while Nalbandian asked Vincent to ally with him to trap Roland in the city hall, where the Interpol would use Polo as bait to lure Roland out of his hiding place. Nalbandian didn't even hesitate to offer him 3 times the usual payment so that he would comply with his request. Vincent seemed to think about the offer for a while and decided to accept it. After that, Vincent went to meet Roland and told him that Polo would be at the city hall tomorrow. Vincent asked Roland to go with him so they could kill Polo together. In another place, Daniel, who had a grudge against Vincent, visited Polo and told him Vincent's address. The next day, Roland and Vincent were already in their positions to carry out their plan. But when Roland was preparing to shoot Polo, he was suddenly attacked by Polo's men, who were helped by the corrupt Interpol agent who conspired to kill him. Because he was fighting alone, Roland became desperate until finally he was knocked down. When they were about to take Roland away, Roland glared at Vincent, who had cheated him for his own benefit. After fulfilling Nalbandian's request, Vincent immediately asked for the payment. But then he got a call from Polo, who was already in his apartment, and took October hostage. Hearing this, Vincent went back to his apartment, but he didn't find anyone there. Shockingly, he found October dead in her bed. Vincent was so angry, he returned to meet Nalbandian to return his payment. He insisted Nalbandian tell him where the corrupt Interpol agents are holding Roland. In an old abandoned factory, Godfrey and Stell tortured Roland to get information about the money he had stolen. Roland mocked them in saying that he had spent all the money. Hearing that, they became more angry and prepared to kill Roland. But then Vincent arrived there just in time and immediately opened fire on Godfrey and his men, killing them all. Vincent then apologized to Roland for trapping him and said that he would help him take revenge on Polo Yacker to atone for his mistake. Roland didn't blame Vincent and just forgave him. Knowing that Polo might be after Anna, Roland rushed to call Mrs. Pavlescu and asked her to take Anna away from there. Unfortunately, Polo and his men were already there and did not hesitate to kill Mrs. Pavlescu. Roland just knew that Polo had killed Mrs. Pavlescu, so he asked Vincent to rush to his house. On the next morning, they arrived at Roland's house, but they devised a plan before attacking Polo and his gang. Not long afterward, Roland received a video message from Polo showing that he had taken Anna hostage. Polo urged Roland to surrender within 15 minutes and threatened to kill his wife if he did not obey the orders. Hearing this, Roland and Vincent had no choice but to surrender to Polo and his men who were fully armed. Polo then ordered his men to kill Roland and Vincent. However, it turned out that the two of them had already planned a strategy by using the latest model laser rifle which could be controlled remotely. Roland then controlled the laser gun to finish off Polo's men, while Vincent took care of the others. After defeating them all, Roland threatened Polo with a knife and told him to apologize to Anna, and in the end, Roland killed Polo. Some time later, Vincent killed Daniels because he had leaked his address to Polo, who caused October to be killed horribly. In another place, Roland was ready with his sniper rifle, then completed his revenge by killing Wilson. After that, Vincent lit candles to commemorate October's death. Even though their togetherness was very short, Vincent felt lost and blamed himself for October's death.